everyone, it's Lisa from My Dreaming Soap. Welcome to my channel. Thanks for dropping by. Now today I'm going to make a soap with a new embed mould that I've created, and it's an embed mould of a fairy door. Well, to be honest, it could be used for any door, I guess, but I'm going to make mine into a fairy door. So here's my embed mould. These are available in the shop. And I've not used it yet before, so I've just got the amount of oils that I reckon that I need for it. So these are just my oils, and I've got some pre-dispersed titanium dioxide in here. And let's just add my lye solution and sodium lactate. Okay, I'm only going to blend that a really tiny bit for a couple of reasons. First of all, I still need to muck around, and I want to play around and get the colour right that I want for this door. And also the fragrance oil that I use does rice not badly at all, a tiny little bit, so I'm going to have to blend that in. So I'm really just wanting to get everything mixed together so I've got a good idea of the colour. Okay, so I've got a little bit of purple passion here that I've pre-dispersed. And also some neon pink. I do keep all my neons, I blend them up the same way as I do with my titanium dioxide, and I keep those pre-dispersed as well, as I think neons can be a pain to add to your soap sometimes. So I just want a tiny bit of this. Okay, I've weighed my bottle before using this so I can see how much I'm actually using. It's only going to be a very small amount. One tiny bit more bit of the purple. Okay, I'm happy with that. The reason I added the purple to this is because I do find with a neon pink that even if you only put a little bit in, it's still quite a bright colour. So this was just trying to darken it down and make it more of a sort of cerise pink or a strawberry pink rather than a neon pink, and I think that's worked quite well. I know it's not dark, it's still a very light colour, but I just wanted to change the tone of it a little bit. And the reason I've used neon pink and then mucked around with it is because, as you probably know, I'm in the UK and we have assessments and we have to prescribe what colours we're going to use in each exact soap, and so for this fragrance I've got neon pink in my recipe, so I have to use it. Right, this is my fragrance oil. Now my fragrance oil here is 1,000 Wishes. Okay, so it's a lovely fragrance, but it does rice just a very, very small amount. Look, you can see, can you see, look, that little bit of ricing going on there? Okay, but I can blend that out, that's not a problem. It's certainly not something that would get me too worried, and it's not a super fast mover either, so you do have a bit of slack to do some blending. Okay, so I blended that reasonable amount. The ricing had disappeared well before I finished blending, but for my fairy drawer I want to put some embeds in, so I want there to be some sort of thickness to the soap so it will support my embeds. So yeah, it didn't need that much blending to get rid of the ricing there. Okay, so you can see here now it's lovely and smooth, and even with quite a bit of blending, it's still reasonably thin, so that's great. Right, let's start filling up our embed mould. Okay, I'm going to put a little bit in first of all. And then my first little embed that I've got is a tiny little heart. And that's going to be sort of, you know, sometimes in cute little fairy doors, they have a window. So I'm doing a heart-shaped window for mine. The next thing I want to add is some door furniture, some little hinges for my door. I'm not too worried if they're not exactly right against the edge of the mould. That doesn't matter. If the hinges stick out a little bit into the door, that's fine. But I do want them to stay, if I can, as flat as possible. Okay, so that one's all right. Okay, next, I've got a little door handle, so that's going to go the side opposite the hinges. Okay, so I'm thickening up a reasonable amount here, but that's absolutely fine for an embed like this because it helps support the embeds in the embeds. Okay, so I'm happy with that. Okay, so my last little hinge. So now let's get the rest of this on the top. Careful not to move that hinge too much. Okay, so perfect. Right, so I'm really pleased with that. I'm pleased I've got my measurements and everything right. That's always good news. So I know exactly how much to advise people to use in there. I'm going to leave that overnight now. I'm going to put it through gel and then we're going to put it into a soap tomorrow. Let's get my mould ready. I want to do a grassy layer first of all for the bottom of my soap. So here I've got the oils that I need for my grassy layer, and also this is going to make some piping to go on the top, so I'm going to make these at the same time. I'm not going to fragrance the piping bit, but I'm just going to leave that off to the side to be setting up whilst I do the rest of the soap. I've put some mica in here already because this is all one colour, this part of the soap, and this is Emerald Shimmer from Mica Mama. It's one of those greens, it's a beautiful bright green, but when you add the lye to it, it turns into one of those horrible greens. But I promise you, it does come back beautifully to sort of this colour when it's gone through its saponification. So we have to, like a lot of greens, ignore the fact that it goes that sort of horrible, sort of like yucky pond green, dark, yucky, olivey green. There you are. Can you see the colour change as that lye is getting through to the mica? So there's our, I mean, it's not terrible, is it? Slightly grim green that we've got. As I said, that beautiful bright green will come back. I'm just going to pour off some for my piping that I want. And then same fragrance oil as I was using yesterday, of course, in my embed. Doesn't seem to be doing much ricing there. Obviously likes that colour. You might find some colours rice and some don't. That's nice and smooth, so I'm happy with that. It is always important to blend ricing out. Some people sort of say, oh, mix it and just bung it straight in, you know, and then don't disturb it. But the problem is, remember, ricing is actually lumps of fragrance. So therefore you do need to get those sort of all mixed in and dispersed through your soap, because you don't want fragrance spots in your soap. Okay, that's good. spread into all the corners. Okay, so I'm just going to leave that to set up a little bit. While the fairy doors, the base soap is setting up, let's unmould this fairy door. Okay, I always make sure for all my embed moulds I use a really good quality silicone so that they just pop out beautifully. Okay, so there's our little fairy door. I'm going to trim that to size, and then when that grass is set up, we'll then think about popping it into the mould. We're pretty set up there now, so I've got a couple of things to pop in. I've got a little toadstool embed that I've made. I'm going to pop that in. Just pop that in down the side here. And then this bit I'm just going to add some water onto to help stick it to the side of the mould a little bit. So hopefully it will stay in place for me. Here's my little fairy door. I've now trimmed that. Okay, and I just want that in just so I've got enough sort of space each side that I can get some soap either side. And then obviously make sure it looks like it's going in straight. Right, I'm happy with both of those. Those are in there now. A couple of other things I've got while I do this main pour. I didn't make these specifically for this soap. I've got another soap that I made, had some little purple butterflies and some little green caterpillars on, and I thought they would be cute to add to the soap, these little spare bits that I've got. These colours are all in this assessment, so I'm okay to put them in here. I've just checked and double checked to make sure I can use them in this soap. So that's all legit, as it were. So there's that done. Good-o. So my issue now is I'm now going to pour sort of like a tree colour. I want it quite light. I don't want it to be really dark brown. And I'm going to do a bit of an in the pot swirl. So obviously it's this balance between making sure I can get this ricing out and keeping it thin enough so it fills all of these gaps in and allows me to get those other embeds in. Let's have a look at my piping. Here's my piping I did. Remember, if you're doing some piping, keep stirring it every now and again. Keep an eye on it. Don't just forget about it, because otherwise you'll come back and it can be all rock hard. And what I'm going to do with this is just add the tiniest bit of activated charcoal. Okay, so I've got my pre-dispersed activated charcoal, and I literally just want to add a tiny bit, so hardly any. So sort of let's start with sort of what's left on this spatula. I just really want to turn this a slightly darker colour. I don't have a brown in this assessment, so I'm just using this gold and adding a hint of black to it. Okay, I think that would be fine. I don't want to get the rest of that activated charcoal in there, so I'm not going to scrape that down. Let's just clean that off. So I think that tiny little bit is enough to just give me some darker soap as well. Right, so let's make sure I've got everything ready. I just need my bugs. See if I can get those in. That'd be good if I can. Let's get this little pesky fragrance oil in. Okay, so while this is nice and fluid, I want to get this poured. This is only a tiny bit I've got here for this swirl. Right, so let's get this in. I'm going to try and do by my little toadstool first. just making sure while the soap is super fluid that I'm getting the things that need to be stuck well, get those stuck in. Good, and then obviously importantly down the side of the fairy door here. I'm trying to let it flow down and then along as an attempt to, if there are any bubbles, push them out rather than dump it all on top and probably trap any bubbles in. And with this being a nice clear mould, I can actually see that it's quite good. I don't have any bubbles. Right. Let's see if I can get this caterpillar to stick. Yay, good. Right, let's build up the rest of this. Be careful around my caterpillar because I don't want to knock it off. And then my butterfly. Bit easier because I don't really mind what angle that goes in at. Okay, right, let's get the rest in. I'll tilt this butterfly a little bit more. Let's see. Okay, as you can see, we're thickening up quite a bit now. I can't obviously give this a stir because it's sort of got my in the pot swirl in, and I don't want to just make it all one colour. I do want a bit of difference in those colours. So, kind of stuck with what I've got. And that's okay, because I can see that I'm not getting any bubbles in the sides. I just thought I'd mention about scraping out jugs. I had someone mention in my comments the other day that I waste a lot of soap because I never scrape out my jugs. That's not the case. I just don't put the scraping on the videos. My videos have so much in them that I don't have time in my videos to go through the whole process of, you know, 30 seconds of jug scraping. So I sort of choose to leave those bits out and put something different in. But yeah, look, it's typically a jug that I've finished with. I just cut it all out of the video, but yes, I do scrape out all my jugs properly. Right, let's get this down. I'm not after getting this super flat because I'm going to be piping on top anyway. I'm more just trying to even it out so that all the bars end up as close as I can, getting them to weigh pretty well the same amount. Okay, so I think that'll do, and then I'm just going to now wait. I've got some little toadstool embeds to go on the top. This piping, look, that's pretty well perfect now, so I'm going to give that a little stir, and then we'll start with the top of that. Yeah, I don't really want that much thicker. Okay, so here are some cute little toadstool embeds that I've made. They should just fit nicely on the soap. I'm going to get these popped in. Okay, so I changed my positioning there just because for the piping I want to be able to pipe around the toadstools, so if I put them all in the same side, I would have trouble getting some little piping bits around them. Let's see if we can get this going with a grass tip. If not, I will revert to leaf tip. Now try not to overload your piping bag too much. I much prefer to have a quite empty piping bag, certainly no more than half full, especially with the little ones, because you don't want it squidging out the top, and I like to have something to wrap around my finger, and I'd rather refill it. And also, keeping it out of the piping bag, you can keep it a bit cooler and give it a stir every now and again if you need to. Right, let's see if I can get this tip to work with this thickness. Yeah, actually, look, that's coming out well. Okay, so there's that. I'm really pleased with that top. I've tried, I don't know if you can see that on the film, I've tried to not do it completely flat. I've done like little mounds of grass on that as well to finish that. So there's our fairy door soap. Let's put that away. That top hopefully will brighten up when that green changes back as well. And we'll cut that tomorrow. I do just have a little bit of that piping left. So what I typically do if I do have that, and I often do it like when I do a layered soap, or scraped soap, when you scrape off some layers, I'll just pipe some flowers or something with it and then put them in a container and mark what they're made of so that I can then use them in the future. So I'm going to now just, with these, because it's green, just pipe myself a bunch of leaves. And then I could put these on the top of other soaps in the future. With our little fairy door soap from yesterday, and can you see how much that green's brightened up now it's gone through saponification? Do you remember it was quite a sort of dull, sludgy, slimy sort of pond colour green, but really brightened up nicely. So let's get that cut. Okay, so let's have a look at what we've got inside with our fairy door. Oh look, that's come out really quite cute, hasn't it? So there's our little fairy door. Do you mean that little random sort of caterpillar I put climbing up the outside of the door, and just a little butterfly? Maybe some more butterflies would have been good, but that's kind of the sort of embeds I had sort of sitting around that went with this assessment. So really quite pleased with that. That's quite cute. And I quite like the subtlety in the pot swirl. And I do think that actually really does quite look a bit like tree bark in there. So I'm really pleased with how that in the pot swirl has come out. So there's my cute little fairy door. As I said, I'm selling these embeds in the shop now, complete with either extruder discs if you want to make the door furniture, and a variety of different windows if you wanted a heart or a square or something like that, or a series of stamps if you wanted to stamp rather than extrude. So you can get all of those bits to make your own fairy door soaps. Hee. There we are. I like them. I think they're really quite cute. Okay, and you can see with that green just how bright that green is compared to that horrible sludge green that it was when it was mixing with the lye. And I'll just leave you with a couple of photos of the final soap. The embed mould, if you wanted to buy one for your own soaps, is available in the shop right now. And also I have a different fairy door soap available to buy. If you're looking to buy this soap, this will be available in the May shop release. That's on the 6th of May 2023. I hope you've enjoyed this video and you like the soap. If you have, it would be great if you gave me a thumbs up, and why not consider subscribing to my channel. Thanks so much for watching, everyone. Happy soaping!